Welcome to all the classic car enthusiasts. It's Sunday when I'm recording this, and I don't like to work in the bottom garage, especially when we're grinding and cutting. There's no point in annoying the neighbours if you don't have to. During the week it's fair game, but Saturdays and Sundays I try not to do it. So I'm up in the main garage and I've been working on the Mini. As you may or may not know, depending if you watch the channel, I took the car for its turf. This is an Austrian first MOT to bring it from a UK registration to an Austrian one. And when I took the car down, it failed on the hydrocarbons. They were much too high. But I found another place where I can get it done. From my understanding of it, Steiermark is one of the strictest. Not that I don't want it strict, but they seemed more interested in the paperwork than they were in the physical or the mechanicals of the car, but that's what it is. Anyway, so it's obviously running far too rich because we were trying to kind of tune the engine, get the best out of it, or trying as fast as we could get out of it. And if you look at this plug here, you'll see how much soot and dust is on that, which is showing that it's running rich. So there's lots of fuel, but not as much air and fuel mixture. So two young chaps who are into minis, Lewis and Victor, who are from Graz, I believe, came over, and because they want a few bits and pieces, they want some help, or Lewis wants some help with some welding. So he very kindly lent me this Gunson Colourtune. And so I've never used one before, and I put it on and tried it. Well, of course, when I put it on, as you'll see in the next bit of the video, it was extremely yellow, which shows that it's incorrect mixture and it's burning too rich. I've adjusted it now on the carb and it's to that blue colour. So what it would show on the hydrocarbons now, I don't know. What I intend to do is trailer it to a place that has a tester, an emissions tester on the trailer first to get it down, and then I'll take it for another test. I'll just quickly show you the way it's set up, and then I'll put the two videos on of the before and after. Okay, so you can see basically how this is set up. It's just this, I'm just using straight off the plug lead. It's kind of hard to do this with one hand. Anyway, you can see there it's got an adapter which is basically a spark plug, but with a glass in it so that you can actually see the colour of the spark in the combustion chamber, which I'll now put the video on. One of these Colourtunes, I've heard of them and heard them from years and years ago. I've never actually used one. So basically all it is an adapter. It's got its own, basically like a little socket, if you like, but plastic, so I guess you don't over tighten it. And obviously it's very important that you get that copper washer with it. And obviously this is glass, so it's see-through in here. So this is how you can see the combustion. And I understand this is like a periscope type deal, where I think the idea is that you can look down and see the spark if it's like a little periscope like they had in the trenches. The idea, I think, is that you can, if it's not dark enough, you can look down and see the colour up the darker tube. But I didn't need to use it. But if it is too light, it is difficult to see, I have to say. And that's all there is to it. So there's not a lot in the kit. Let's go that way around, is it? Yeah. But there's not a lot in the kit, and that's all there is to it. I think they're about £30–35. I must admit the difference is quite dramatic. So that's it, Gunson Colourtune. I think you can get it from probably just about anywhere. Okay, I'm going to take you over to the E-Type. The E-Type, we definitely need to change some of the shims. There's no doubt about it. We've checked it. What I did was I checked the adjustment throughout the whole 12, and then I got Amir to do the same thing, and we came up with two pieces of paper. And I obviously not checking him out or not checking me out, but I wanted to see if there was any discrepancies. And as it turned out, we were pretty much on the money. There was only one that we disagreed on, which was on the inlet side. I had 27. I mean, you know, the problem is the feeler gauges I have are metric, and so to get it to 0.0 of a millimetre is very difficult, and they only go in 5s. So to get it absolutely precise is very difficult. What I really would like is a set of feeler gauges that have an offset on them. So what I've had to do in this case is I've had to actually had to bend the feeler gauges I have to make them offset like that, but I only needed a certain amount, so that's what I've done. And now going back and checking this, it's definitely over 30, I can feel it there. And I put a 35 in, but it won't go to as high as that, so it's between 30 and 33, 34 maybe, I think 33, because 35 will definitely not go anywhere near it. So at least now we have a set of numbers to go by for the inlet and the exhaust. So obviously the next thing will be to take out the cams. I'll write this down very carefully, but take out the cams and take out the shims and mic them, or vernier them to make sure, see exactly what they are, and then we'll know what to adjust them to. But there's quite a lot of variations. One of the things I did say, and this is the problem with getting old, I'm coming up for 65, so my memory is not as good as it was. I was talking about, somebody mentioned to me about torquing the head down, and then a few other people mentioned, of course, with an overhead cam system that will make no difference if the cams are not attached by the main cylinder head bolts, which they're not in an E-type case. You can actually set up these valves, clearances on a bench with a head on the bench. There are some cases where some of the bolts might go through the camshaft, so that then it would be different. I was thinking more of the Mini, where the rocker shaft is held on as part of the head stud bolts, and that was what was going on my head. So, but it is something I want to retorque anyway, because it was only done after the engine was run for about 300 or 400 miles, and then I retorqued it. But I've had some reports from some people that they've had to torque them 4 or 5 times over a period of years. So I will check that anyway. And now we need to look at how where we go next with the shims. I could go out and buy a box of shims, but they're extremely expensive, so probably what I'll do is actually check what shims I need, and if it turns out some of the shims I've got, there is no damage to them, you know, there's no markings, there's no wear, too much wear, or the surface hasn't come off, then I can reuse them in different positions. But there is quite a difference in the valve clearances, which I was quite surprised about. So in fact, the clearances I've got are almost racing clearances, which are obviously much bigger because of the heat and so on and so forth. They're almost racing clearances, not for road use. So this is probably why it's so noisy. So I will be getting on with this. On Tuesday I'll put up another video on the track day car, because I didn't want to work at the weekend, like I said earlier. And I'm finishing up now on the jacking point, the quick jacking point, and getting the A-pillar cover in place, and then I'll put the outer sill back on and then go over and start the other side. So as usual, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby, and be good to each other. Take care.